So you're thinking of moving to the Phoenix area and you're just not sure if this is going to be the right decision for you. Well, in today's video, I want to break down everything I wish I knew before I moved into the Phoenix area. These are different things that you should probably know before you move here. And some of them are tips, but also some of them are fair warnings for maybe why this isn't going to be the right location for you. I moved here about 8 years ago now from California. Yes, I know I moved from that bad state to Arizona. And some people in Arizona don't love that Californians are moving here. We'll get into a little bit of that as well, but I just want to break down everything I wish I knew before I moved to Phoenix. And some of it is more practical things like how do our road systems work? How do you say specific words that Arizonians say? But also things like how to handle the heat. What is the actual expectation of the heat? So I just want to give you an honest breakdown of what you should expect when moving to Arizona and things you should know before you move to this area. I also have this totally free moving to Phoenix guide. It's everything I wish I knew before I moved to the area. This video is going to explain a lot of it, but if you want it in written form and even more detail, it's 20 plus pages. Everything I wish I knew before I moved to Phoenix. Just reach out to me. My email and number on the screen. I am a realtor here in the area, so I love helping people relocate, and that guide is a great first step for many of them. All right, well, let's get into it. And let's start with the heat. You got to know about the heat. If you're thinking of moving to Phoenix, everyone knows it's hot here, but what does that actually look like? When is it actually hot, and what should you expect during these months? So really the bad months are June through September. That's when it's probably over 100 almost every day of the week. Sure, you can get some in the mid 90s in June and at the end of September, but in reality, you're probably over 100 all the way from June. And yes, May could have some days over 100, and also October could have a few days over 100, but in general, June to September is the worst, with July and August being the absolute worst. That's when you'll see some of those crazy lines of week where it's going to be over 115 for all 7 days. That's likely going to be in July and August. And I gotta be honest, there's no adjusting to it. There's never a period in July and August where you're like, hey, it feels great. It's only 110 today. In my opinion, over 105 degrees is brutal. There's not much difference between 105 and 115. You don't want to go outside. You're going to be outside for a short period of time. You want water. Most of your day is going to be spent inside. So as far as when it's hot, it's going to be those months. The only nice thing about July and August is that's when we get some more monsoon. So we get a little bit of rainfall to cool the days off a little bit, which we absolutely love that here. But in reality, June to September, it's quite hot here. If you can, the first recommendation I can give you, schedule your vacations during those months, especially in July and August. If you can schedule to get to some other state that's going to be cooler weather, or go up to Flagstaff for a weekend just to cool off, that is definitely the best time to be doing that, is especially in July and August. Now, some tips about how to work with the heat if you're living here. The first one is to get your AC serviced annually. A pretty basic one. Maybe you're from out of state, you don't have to get your AC or furnace serviced. In Arizona, that's important. And do it in like March or April, right when it's starting to get hot, so you're going to need them and turn them on. But if it goes out, it's not the end of the world. You don't want to wait to get your AC serviced in July, because what if it goes out in June when it's 105 out? Then you're going to be brutally hot. You're probably going to have to go stay in a hotel. You don't want that to happen. Get it serviced. Just get it checked on. That's what service means. They go check it. They make sure all the fluid levels are right. Make sure there's nothing that needs to happen, or that it's just basically working properly. Get that done every single year. Ideally, March, April is kind of the perfect time to do that. And you probably want to schedule that out in advance, because a lot of these AC companies are busy during that time because everyone is getting their AC serviced. And just in general, just overall house insulation is key, right? Dual pane windows are great. Some of the higher end windows, some of them can be a little scammy. They're charging 10 grand a window, but in reality, you want dual panes, and ideally something that has some sort of reflective on the back. You can even actually put this clear sticker on the back of it. Basically, it's just a reflector piece that's maybe on, some specific bedrooms that are getting some bad sun. You could put that on there. You don't even really notice it from the outside, but it really blocks the heat from getting in. And then also use ceiling fans. This is just such a basic thing, but you don't have to have your AC set to 65 degrees. If you're sitting under a fan, then you do not have to keep your AC extremely low. If you don't use fans at all, you're going to want to keep that AC cranked low. There are some people that do some things where they will crank their AC early in the morning, get it super cold, and then not touch it until late in the evening when your electricity rates are lower. So it could be something you do. That's not something I practice, but I do know that people do that. I think they call it super cooling, and it's just a way to save electricity and not spend as much on your AC bill if you do something like that. I'm not an expert on it, but I have heard it can be effective. Ideally, you're not going to be wanting to leave your cars in the sun, at least throughout the day. If you can get some sort of shade, you definitely want a sunshade, because if you leave your car out in the sun for 6 hours and then you get in it, you won't be be able to touch anything in it, so you're gonna have to have a sunshade. And ideally at your house, you probably want to fit your cars in the garage if you can, or at least under some sort of shade, just because your paint is going to decrease faster. You're gonna start to see sunspots on it, so just ideally you are not leaving your car in the sun. Also, your car battery is gonna last a shorter lifespan if you're leaving it out in the sun, so just another thing to plan on. And over summer, the bummer about it being hot over summer is that's when kids are out of school. The nice thing about Phoenix is everyone knows this, so there are quite a few indoor options. They have indoor playgrounds, indoor water parks even, but also just about every big playground in Phoenix has a splash pad, so you have water. You're not gonna wanna go there at 2 p.m. when it's the middle of the day and the sun's up, but if you go a little bit in the morning or in the evening, those splash pads are crazy busy. There's a bunch of kids there, so there are ways for kids to cool off over summer. That's kind of the key things about the heat. Of course, there are a bunch of other things you can factor into, but get your AC serviced, make sure your house is well insulated. We're talking about the roof, we're talking about the windows, and even all around the cracks around the windows. All those things can play a factor in it. Find ways to keep your kids cool in summer without sending them outside at 2 p.m. And also just in general car tips, if you can keep it under the sun, that is priority one for your car. Now let's get into road system. And this is something that's pretty important to people coming from out of state, because when you get here, everyone already knows them so well. And it's not so much about actually driving them, it's actually talking to people in Phoenix. It's quite weird. It's almost like a lingo. If you hadn't heard it, you don't understand what's happening. But people from Phoenix love to talk about the different cross streets, right? They're off 35th and Cactus, or they're off 43rd and Bell, and you're from out of state and you're like, how the heck do you know every single subdivision and every little area? You know what city that's in? You get it all? Well, it's because we're on a grid system. And it takes a little bit of time to understand it, but you can get a very quick in general guide right now, and that's what I'm gonna go through right now. So basically, how our grid system works is it all starts on Central Ave, and to the east of Central Ave, I don't know if I'm backward here, but to the east of Central Ave, we have all the streets. So we have 5th Street, 7th Street, 35th Street, 67th Street. You continue going and you continue going more towards streets the further east you go. Whereas if you go west, you're gonna start hitting the avenues. So you're gonna have 7th Avenue, you're gonna have 35th Avenue, and same thing, if you go to 165th Avenue, you are way in the West Valley of Phoenix. And so if you understand that, you're gonna get a good concept of where things are. So if someone says 35th Avenue, you're gonna know they're in the West Valley. They're still somewhat centrally located, but they're in the West Valley. Whereas if they said 35th Street, it's the same thing, but on the East Valley. They're not too far from Central Phoenix, right? They're 35 blocks over. That's not a crazy distance when we're including freeways, but they are to the east or to the west. And then it's, especially if you hear someone say they're on 100th Avenue, then you know they're way far west. They're probably in Buckeye or Surprise, way out west there. Same thing in the east. They're probably getting close to Fountain Hills, way past Scottsdale. So you can already get a good idea of where things are in that route. Now, the thing that I can't really teach you that's gonna take some memorization practice is the different street names. So all of our north-south roads are numbers, except for Central Ave. So we just talked about the number system. We had Central Ave, and then we had 5th Street, we had 5th Ave, or it's really 7th Street, 7th Ave. You see those, and they're all numbered north-south streets. But if you are east-west streets, which most of them go all the way across the valley, those are going to be street names, and they take some memorization. You have some more famous ones like Bell Road has a bunch of retail on it. Camelback is fairly central. Cactus is right around there, going all the way across as well. So you have these bigger name roads that the more you're in Phoenix, right, if you're going out to eat, you're gonna realize there's just quite a few things on Camelback or on Bell Road, just because those are more retail centered streets. But in general, east-west are going to be names. And so if you hear someone say Bell Road and 35th Ave, you know it's on the northern section right south of the 101 and going to be on the west side because it was an avenue. Or same thing, Bell and 35th Street. So you'll start to realize that there are some bigger named streets that are going east-west. And if you understand how the numbered system works and then you start to memorize some of those street names, you'll get a pretty good idea of how our grid system works. And that's going to help you a lot, not only for driving, right? If you put in an address, you'll understand if you're going what direction, if you're going east or west, but also just when people communicate here in Phoenix, they know the streets so well, they're going to say 35th Ave and Bell, and you're going to know where that is. So that's just a helpful thing because everyone here that's lived here more than 2 years ends up figuring out our grid system. So it is helpful for you to know how that works up front. And something I kind of wish I knew, because when I was talking to people, I was like, yeah, I totally know where 35th Ave and Bell is. And I was just guessing. I had to look it up on my phone right after I talked to them. So maybe you won't have to do that after watching this video. Now, a quick breakdown of our freeways. We just talked about the road system, but about our freeways, which are helpful to know. The I-10 freeway is the main one going through basically the entire United States, goes right through downtown Phoenix, and also that's right next to where downtown Tempe and downtown Scotts are, just a few blocks south or north of the 10 freeway. So that's really our main freeway going through everything east to west is the I-10 freeway, but also a main freeway is the I-17, which is going north and south, and that again kind of loops down down towards downtown Phoenix, but it also goes all the way up to Flagstaff. That tends to be a fairly busy freeway. It's more packed, especially during rush hour. It's not as bad as maybe the 10 is going to be, but it's going to be more packed, and it's just a tighter freeway in general. Not the best freeway here in Phoenix. You have the 51, which is also going north-south, but that's more in the East Valley, and that's closer to Paradise Valley and Scottsdale, so that freeway tends to be much nicer. It has extra lanes in it. It also has pretty views in it, and no billboards too, which is just a nice feature when you're driving through. You don't see a million billboards advertising a personal injury lawyer up and down the freeway. 51 is a much nicer freeway than the 17, but it just depends if you're living on which side of the valley if you're using those. And then we have the Loop 101, which goes all the way from one side of the 10 down to the other, and that tends to be a fairly nice freeway, fairly open freeway like the 51 as well. And that's how most people from the West Valley are getting to places like Scottsdale. Not often are people going from Scottsdale to the West Valley just because there's not a lot of entertainment in the West Valley, but most people know it as their route to get to Scottsdale. And then you have the Loop 202 going on the south side. This tends to be a busier freeway. That's where places like Chandler and Gilbert are going to be using, or Tempe. South Tempe is going to be using the 202 as well. That can be slightly busier of a freeway just depending on the hours. And then the other one you should know, there's obviously a few other smaller freeways, is the 60, basically slashing all the way through downtown and continuing going south. And that's actually the route. If you just keep taking it, you go all the way up to the Las Vegas route over to Nevada. The 60 freeway in general, especially on the West Valley, the closer you are to it, it tends to be not the best of areas. It tends to be higher crime rate. As you go more north, up towards Surprise and Northern, that tends to be a lower crime rate area. But in general, following the 60 all through downtown, south and north of where the 60 slashes through, tends to be higher crime rates following that specific road system right there. Okay, that's everything about roads. If you didn't care about roads, you just got a full breakdown of them that you probably did not care about. Let's move on. Two more things I want to get to. Best things to do and also some of the better places to live. I'm a realtor, so of course I got to talk about some areas. I'll talk about a few places to avoid, but also where I'd be looking to move to depending on what your situation is. So best things to do. This is kind of one of the cooler things we found out about Phoenix. There is so much going on. Kind of no matter where you live. Really the true entertainment hub is going to be Scottsdale, the Old Town area. That's where the best nightlife is. That's where the bars are. There tends to be concerts around that area. They have tons and tons of restaurants. Fashion Square Shopping is the largest indoor mall here, so that's used quite a bit over summer. So Scottsdale is really the entertainment hub. They have this really cool thing called the Arizona Boardwalk, which is great for kids. It's got a bunch of different venues there, like an aquarium, or Ripley's, believe it or not. Bunch of things there. There's also a Topgolf right next door. So really that South Scottsdale area is really the entertainment hub of Phoenix. It's not downtown Phoenix. In reality, the only reason people are going to downtown Phoenix, it tends to be maybe for bars or a nightlife scene or a sports game or concert. Most people are not congregating in downtown Phoenix on a regular basis unless they live down there already. Most people in Phoenix view Scottsdale as the entertainment hub. And that is the other nice thing about Phoenix, is there is so much entertainment going on. There's always concerts happening. There's spring training coming. There's always big sporting events. We have 3 major sports teams. Used to have hockey as well, but they left because no one in Phoenix actually liked hockey. But there are plenty of opportunities to go to events and have a fun night out here in the Phoenix area, which we've been impressed with. So you have South Scottsdale being a pretty big entertainment hub, and really downtown Tempe might even be a bigger entertainment scene than downtown Phoenix. Now it's more of the college vibe because that's where ASU is, but that is a popular spot, especially for a nightlife scene, and that's also where there's going to be concerts. They have the Broadway Theater down there as well, so again, a great thing to do for the night out. On the West Valley, you really have the Westgate area. That's right next to the State Farm Stadium, which is where the Arizona Cardinals play. That's really the only entertainment hub in the West Valley that has kind of a really cool venue to it. A bunch of restaurants, they hold events there as well. But that's in general the overall best things to do. The other things we love doing is going up to Sedona and Flagstaff are two of our favorite things to do, especially Sedona for all the amazing hikes, and then we love going to Flagstaff over summer because it is much cooler there than it is here in Phoenix. Now, talking about some areas that I'd be looking and some I'd be avoiding in if I am moving to Phoenix. These are things you really don't know until you get here or unless you watch videos like this. So if I was a first-time buyer looking to find something on the more affordable side but still want a family-friendly, safe area, I'd be looking at places like Surprise, places like Goodyear, also some places in Mesa, and then Chandler's slightly more expensive, but some of the older homes there you can get for under $500,000, maybe in the low 4s, 450 range in Chandler, just going to be a little bit more outdated than the others. Really, Surprise is going to be one of the more popular spots for first-time buyers because they have new builds there, which tend to have really great incentives for lower interest rates, while also being a very family-friendly, centered with a huge park, library, baseball stadium, all in their downtown. It's very oriented towards families in Surprise, while being one of the more affordable options with really nice homes in the 350 range there. So if I was a first-time buyer, I'd be looking there. If I'm looking for something a little bit nicer, maybe 500 to 700,000, some of the best areas are going to be North Peoria are great. Chandler and Gilbert are two amazing options as well. And then up north in Phoenix, I'd be looking in Anthem. If you don't need to be too centrally located, Anthem is one of my personal favorite communities. Absolutely gorgeous, amazing park in it. Again, fairly family centered, but also a nice spot for a quiet lifestyle if that's what you're looking for as well. And then if you're looking for absolute best places to live, I love the Arcadia area, which is actually in Phoenix, has a kind of Paradise Valley feel to it, but it is in the city of Phoenix. Of course, Paradise Valley is the ultra luxury, best primo lots, all of Phoenix with some mansions on them. And then also North Scottsdale is a great spot as well. Just gorgeous homes, a little bit more spread out, amazing Sonoran Desert views all throughout. It is one of the more expensive places in Phoenix for good reason because of the home opportunities and also just the surrounding area you get with it. Now, some places I'd be avoiding, we talked about this a little bit. The South Glendale area and also Maryville is going to be higher crime rates. So I can't tell you to absolutely don't live somewhere, but I will tell you those are going to be higher crime rate areas along with the west side of Mesa. Those three tend to be some of the higher crime rates in Phoenix. Of course, downtown Phoenix, like any other downtown, is going to have a high crime rate as well. So if there's places that you're bringing a family looking to avoid, that'd be where I'm looking. But there are also reasons that people live there, especially downtown Phoenix. If you're a young professional, you want to meet new people, downtown Phoenix could be a great option. You just got to walk by some homeless people every now and then. So there you go. That was kind of a fire hose shooting everything at you of what you should probably know before you move to Phoenix. And this really isn't everything. There's so much more to go along with it, so much more niche breakdown. That's why I made that free moving to Phoenix guide. My email's on the screen. I'd love to send that over to you, just breaking down everything I wish I knew before I moved to Phoenix. A lot of it is in this video, but also some more things that just would take too long to cover are in that guide. So if you want that, just email me. Again, I am a realtor here in the area. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for more videos about living in Arizona.